All right. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to a new term and excited to get started. And I know I say this every time I do the greeting now. I wish we were back at the school so that I can interact with you and see you on that personal level. But we're just getting through and making sure we're seeing students be able to finish still and keep their career going and not have to be completely on pause during this time. So we're just thankful that we're able to do that still and be able to at least do this aspect, even though we are missing being at the campus. And I had to miss IXL this time too, I was just like, man, I love being at the school and getting to interact with the students. So I do miss it, but we're gonna have a good term, 8 weeks, so it goes by quick. There's going to be probably a few assignments you're going to be like, this doesn't seem like it's going quick, but we enjoy it. And but I want to make a new greeting. I'm not at the classroom, as you can see. I actually came to my parents' house for a little while, used some internet there, but I thought I would make this greeting and go over my classroom policies and how I grade. Now there's a few changes as far as just little things that I want to make sure we're staying up to date. And also if you've had me before, not big changes or anything, so some of this is going to seem repeat, but there's people in each class that are totally new, so I want to make sure I'm very thorough and that everybody gets how I'm going. Also, I'll be referring back to this video when we ever have an issue with grading or what happened, or some of the policies, deadline policies, so that when I say, hey, that's in this video, that, hey, I expect you to watch it and know those policies going forward. If you have questions, though, always feel free to email me. So I'll start there. You are going to be joining the Google Classroom. You should have obviously already joined if you're watching this video. And so when you're in that classroom, if you've not used it in a while, if you just knew and you just had tech and everything was just thrown at you at once when you did IXL, on that classroom you have a stream, which is what this video is on. You'll have a classwork tab that's at the top, and then you have a people tab. And if you ever click on that people tab, it'll show you everybody in the class that you can email directly or chat with. And it also have me, and so you can directly contact me through email that way. Or you could just log into your email, start typing D-E-L-Y, D-E-L-Y, and it'll start coming up as my email address at mogoodwillexcel.org. I will not be answering to you have to be using your school email or the Google Classroom to email me. If you use your personal email, I usually don't respond to those because just network things and making sure it's logged into the school email. So make sure you're emailing me on your school email. But on that, so usually how my classes go, and they're a little different for different ones. I'll try to cover briefly each one. If you've had me in math classes, if you had me in geometry this term, my assignments will post with a video. Usually I have a video of me teaching. Sometimes a couple times through the term I'll use some videos from YouTube that explain it in a little bit different way to give more backing on some of the deeper sets of problems, so that you hear me and you also see some different ways of doing it and whatever works for you. But you'll watch those videos, and it's very important that you watch them fully. And then usually for math, I do example problems that you can follow along with, and then I do at the end of the video, or sometimes in the middle, I will list problems for you to do. That will be your assignment. And so you'll see the problems on the video. You can pause the video, if you can't write them down that fast. And that's the great thing about videos. And one pro thing I will say about teaching online is, if I went really quick and you were like, wait a minute, I missed that, you can always rewind it, watch it again. In class, sometimes, we keep going and it's like, well, what did he say? And, you can't go back in time unless you're Marty McFly or Tenet. I don't know Protagonist, that's the main character. didn't have a character's name. Dr. Kennedy would love that I brought up the word protagonist in this. But anyway, for the video, you'll watch it, you'll do the problems. You can either type the problems on a Google Doc, or most people do them handwritten, because math, it's hard to type a lot of those symbols. Sometimes some of the Google Docs don't even have the symbols that you can use. So you write those out, and then you take a photo of your work, or if it's a Google Doc, you just submit it. But you'll take a photo of it, and if you go to the classwork assignment, so the video will post, and then also a classwork assignment will post that go with it. As an example, I'm just using an example. Let's say I'm teaching on angles, and I have this video and I go through angles. Then on that same time that this video posts on your stream, the assignment will post that says angles, part 1. And so that assignment is blank, okay? What I post for an assignment is blank. It's just a spot to turn in the problems from the video. So you have to watch the video, and you have to get the problems from there. Once you see the problems, write them down, do them, and take a photo. You then go to that assignment that I posted that says angles part 1. You click on it, and you'll see a little plus button, and you'll go to add your photo there. Now, as far as taking a photo of your problems, whether it be on your phone and you're messaging it that way, or if you're doing it on the computer, I will post a video. I do it every term. It's the same video I shot the very first term we did this, that show you how to post a picture to that. Okay, so you'll want to watch that if you've never done that. You'll want to watch that and make sure that it's doing correctly. Usually the first week I work with you. If you turn it in wrong, I always let you know, hey, this isn't wrong, and I'll walk you through that again. So no worries. But usually that's how my math classes go. We have problems at the end of the videos, and you do them and you turn them in. As far as my music classes, those are a little bit different. So if you're in music appreciation here, I still do videos where I teach. I also use a lot of YouTube different videos for just different artists and explain things that they do. Obviously I play music, and I'll have a greeting for that tomorrow as far as my musical background. But I like to, that's part of the class, is learning about all different kinds of artists, all different techniques they use, that a lot of them are related, even though you think some music isn't. And so I go through that. Usually with those classes, now every once in a while I have you take a photo of work, depending on if it's a test or a study guide or problems that you have to do that way. But most of the time it's essay response. So I will pose a question. Okay, so I pose the video, like the math, and then I pose a question at the same time that asks you to respond in essay. I will tell you here, and I'll repeat it in your music video tomorrow, I definitely want you to expound on your thoughts. Don't just answer yes, no, or, I don't know. Expound on why you don't know or have an opinion, or expound on why you think it's yes or why you think it's no. Always back up your answer. As part of learning here, you're going to be doing that in a lot of classes. As you continue on education, essay becomes a big part of it. And I'm not grading. I'm not doing the English part of it where I'm like, okay, you have to have perfect grammar in this and you got to set it up. But it does have to kind of flow with what you're trying to express. And so I'll be, going through that in that class. But usually those are questions that pose that you're just typing your answer. You don't have to create a Google Doc. There's a spot that just says reply, and you start typing your answer. So that will be a little bit different. So if you've not had my music class yet and you've had me in math, most of them are essay answers. And not real hard, just something to kind of get what you're thinking, and what you learned from each day's lesson that we go through. So, and I enjoy all my classes. I enjoy math. I love math, and I know about half of you just went, what is wrong with that guy? He loves math. But I like how it works out. But and music's got a lot of math to it. But with music, you can be more open to just subjectiveness. So it's like, hey, you really like that kind of music. I really like this kind of music. None of us is wrong. It's not like, it's personal taste. And so, we discuss though about what makes that music and how it relates and that kind of thing. So it's a fun, kind of neat learning experience. If you have my PE class, okay, same thing. There will be a question each day that talks about your what you did for the class for the PE part of it, and then the exercise part of it, and then usually I will post things that go with, and I'll go through that in your video tomorrow that just deals with PE. But just so you know, most the turn-ins are the same way. Either you're doing essay and question response, or you're taking a photo and doing your work on paper of the geometry. Okay. Now, as far as a few changes, this changed last term, and so we started it last term. We will have a deadline halfway through the term. Okay, we call it the midterm, and what that will be for is for everything from the first day to that midterm will be due on a date right there at the midterm. Okay, and it's going to be the same for the whole classes. So that means you have it's 4 weeks. There'll be a week in there. Then I'll remind you right at the middle that we're like, hey, everything from the beginning of the class till now to the middle is due. Okay, and that's all your assignments, tests, everything. So it's due then. Okay, and nothing will be accepted after that for that first half of the class. We started that last term. Really, I've always been, at the school, usually when we're at the school, I accepted things all the way at the end, but even that got to be kind of hard because I get things that needed to be turned in much sooner, really late in the term, and the grades would kind of go like this, and it was hard to keep track where a student was, and also it didn't benefit them at the end of the term to try to do something we learned at the beginning as much. So, that's there in the middle. There'll be that, and you'll hear announcements as it gets close to that. It'll be here before you know it. Then, from that point on to the end of the term, there'll be a deadline at the end of the term for everything from the second half. And that's always been that way, where everything's due before the final. So be watching for those. They're hard deadlines. Really, most of the classes, my main encouragement here is to say, watch each day what's assigned. Sometimes there'll be things that you can do really quick, and if there's some will take longer. If there's times you're like, okay, I've got something going on and it's going to take me a couple days, I'll be going through how I grade and what the deduction is there, but it's important that you at least check in each day and see what happens for the class, because otherwise I have had students wait a week, try to wait to the end of the week, and then get so far behind they get overwhelmed, and it can be really challenging, not impossible, but challenging to get caught back up. So be on top of that, and that's those two deadlines. Now, as far as the attendance bonus and how I do attendance is, no matter what class I teach, so let's say geometry or music or the PE this term, when the thing posts, okay, so let's say, going back to angles, let's say I post that assignment, it will always post at 12:01 in the morning. Okay, so let's say it's Tuesday and your assignment, you're waiting for it, at 12:01 it will post in the morning. That does not mean you have to get up and do it at 12:01, or if you're up already, to start trying to do it at 12:01. You can if you want, it's there, but what that means is you have that full day. So at 12:01 it posts, and you have that full day until 11:59 that night, okay? And so you have a full 24 hours, 23 hours and 58 minutes to do that assignment. And that is to be done on time, to be counted present. That's when it's due, okay? And so and most of my assignments are 10 points on, let's say, a daily assignment is 10 points. Some are worth 20 in music. Some math ones are a little bit different, but let's say it's a 10-point assignment. To get the full 10 points, that has to be due. It has to be in by that time period. Another important thing on that is to be counted present that day. You have to do it in that time period. That's always been that way since we've went online, because we can't have, like, at the end of the week, you do all these assignments and we count you present all those days, because you weren't there that day. So yes, and this gets into the late policy, but you can still do the assignment late, but you won't be counted present. Okay, and in fact, I have a cutoff for tardy. I do a tardy, but that's only a few hours after, because I know sometimes internet issues, and if you reach out to me, if it's a daily thing, I'm maybe like, hey, I have to be fair to everybody, so it's due in that time to be counted present. Now, and you'll want to keep track of your attendance, as far as they go through the policy in the handbook of how many misses you can have. It's very lenient, but at the same time, as I said before, you don't want to just say, well, I've got 14 absences and so I'm going to use them all, because really a class being 8 weeks, there's a lot that goes into those 14 days. So try to just be as best as you can keeping up with the assignments, and you'll do fine. But yeah, that's how I grade 10 out of 10 for turning it in on time. Now, if you turn it in late, okay, so let's say you had something happen a couple days later, you want those points, you can do it still. You can still do the assignment. You won't be counted present. I can't go back and change that, but I will still accept it. I do a deduction of 70%, or a deduction of 30%. My math got off there as a math teacher, but I take off 30%. So if it's a 10-point assignment, you'll get 7 out of 10. Okay, you get 70% of that. If it's a 20-point assignment, same thing. I deduct that 30%, so you end up with a 14 out of 20. So just think about 7 out of 10. If you double that, it's 14 out of 20. And so if you see that, that's what that is. I did the late deduction because it was turned in late. Now, it sounds like a lot of points, but over the course of the whole term, it really is not. Okay, it will not. I've had students where it barely affects them. I know that's not a good thing to say as a teacher. Yeah, if you turn it late, it's not a big deal. But if you do it a lot, then it will start to kind of affect your grade over time, as far as it will go down a little bit. So just stay on top of that. But that's my policy on that, is there's that 3-point deduction on a 10-point assignment. And so you'll see that. Now, there's something else about the deduction. And as far as, when that's deducted, when that's taken off, you can see it, you'll see it there at the very first couple assignments. Let's say the first couple weeks, it's going to make a bigger impact. Okay, so because I've had, especially tests, a student maybe gets a deduction or something happens and their grade goes way down all of a sudden. Well, at the beginning, it's because there's not many grades in there to offset it. So it looks bad. It's like, oh my goodness, because let's say the first assignment you're late on and you get a 7, you're going to have a 70% for the class. And you think, wow, that's, I was at 100%, when I started, and I'm already at 70. Well, that's just the first assignment. As that goes on, then you got more grades to offset that, and it doesn't affect it as much. So first couple weeks, you're going to see and go, oh, wow, that's a huge deduction. That leads me into my test. Okay, tests are 70% of your grade, so they really drive your grade. That's always been that way at the school. They really drive your grade. Test, as far as its policy, is a little bit different with the late policy. We have a school policy on when tests can be turned in. So I'm going to use this as an example, okay, so you can see here. I don't have my whiteboard, so this is going to be what I use here, and I think if I'm doing this backwards, let's see. Does that look right? Yeah. I think so. No, that's backwards. Let me see if I can write this. That'd be like this then. That's kind of fun. Let's see. I don't know at this point. Because I'm looking at it backwards. Anyway. All right, so we get the gist. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? So let's say we took a test on a Tuesday. Okay? And we took that test. It's a big portion of your grade. You don't want to leave it blank. And I know sometimes something happened on Tuesday, and even maybe there was something you were trying to do and you wanted to make sure you turn it in well. You have until the following Friday to turn that test in with no deduction. Okay, so you have until that following Friday. Now, I once again, as a teacher, say that's not a good practice to wait that long, because the thing is, we'll already move on to the next stuff by Wednesday. So, if you're holding back that test, it's going to just get further, that information is going to get further and further away. It makes it more challenging. You're still trying to keep up with the work this week. So it's not a good practice, but if it happens, there's no deduction. But if you if you don't get it turned in by that following Friday, it has to stay a 0. Okay, so you definitely want to get it in that 2-week period. Now, that can mean any test. Let's say you took the test on a Thursday, it's still the following Friday. Okay, that's due. So you have until the end of the week that it's taken on, no matter what day it's on, and then the full week, and then that Friday is when it's due. Okay, so that's the test policy, and that's always been that way, whether we've been on campus or online. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, I probably will refer to this video if there's an issue later and say, hey, I put that in there. You have to make sure that's in that time period. And you don't want to leave test blank. You want to do your best, but you want to definitely turn it in. Okay. The other last thing, as far as policy-wise, is the attendance bonus, and that's really been a helpful thing. I've seen it used, and I've seen it taken advantage. I've seen grades go up because of it. A lot of times I'll see someone go from like maybe a B up to an A from it. Sometimes I've even seen people that needed that extra 5% to pass, and so it's very important. But what it is if you miss 0 to 1 day, okay, and I don't think this is going to work because it's, like I said, it's backwards. But if you miss 0 to 1 days, meaning you only miss 1 or less, you get a full 5% added to your grade at the end of the term. Okay, and I have to, and I'll probably have to repeat this later at the end to remind everybody. I have to put it in your as an assignment extra bonus, and so it looks kind of weird when that happens. Because sometimes I maybe have to do like a 30 out of 40 to get the 5%. I know that sounds weird, but it depends on what your grade is going in. But I promise you, I'm very meticulous to make sure you get exactly the attendance bonus that you earned. Okay, so if you only miss 1 day or less, you get a full 5% added to your grade at the end. If you miss 2 days, you get a 4%. Okay, if you miss 3 days or less, or 3 days, you get a 3%. If you miss 4 days, you get a 2%. If you miss 5 days, you get 1% added. And I've even seen that help. I've seen someone at a 70 or 69. They had only missed 5 days. They got that 1% they needed. So anything more than that, you don't get any of the attendance bonus. Okay, so this is for 5 or less days. You can get that attendance bonus. And like I said, now the one other thing to that is it cannot take you above 100% for the class. So that has happened several times where someone has like a 98, they never missed. That's probably why they had a 98, and I can only take them up to 100. But I do go ahead and raise them to 100%. Okay, so that's the one side thing of that. So the attendance bonus is very important. It helps you keep your helps your grade. And also you'll learn, like I said, if you're very sure of and you make sure you're there those days, it will help your grade anyway, because you're staying up with the class. Even if there's things you can't get done right away, at least you've checked in and you've started it, and you've shown that you were there and you turned in what you could. It helps with that. So I'm clicking my pen, so for those that hate that sound, I will now stop. If we were in the classroom, someone would have already said, Mr. Ely, would you stop clicking the pen? And I would have been like, sure, yeah, of course, and then done it one more time just to be kind of honorary. But anyway, I hope we have a good term, guys. Like I said, I really wish I'd see you there for the music people, to just show you. This is not my piano. My piano's at my house, but and I'll probably be on that some coming up this term. But for those that aren't in my music class, maybe a little bit of preview, but we'll be learning not a lot of technical things, but some that will help you understand how music's formed. But you can you'll be hearing songs, and you know, this is the instrument I've really taken to. I play drums, guitar. I played drums my whole life pretty much, and then guitar, and play a little bass because of guitar. That's how I started, and then I've really gotten into the piano within the last years and getting to play that. So you'll get to hear some of that. So excited. Hope we have a good term. If I had some little fun geometry thing, I'd do that to kind of get the geometry students hyped up, you know, as opposed to the music. But, you know, here's a circle. So we could, you know, there's a circle there. So we could say a little geometry circle. And anyway, guys, if you have any questions, like I said, email me. And I hope you have a good term. Thanks, guys.